Now we're going to talk about the e-commerce tips. And again, we always talk about different tips. So let me just give you a disclaimer, and then I'll let Kelly share some thoughts as well. Amazon was much easier to sell on many years ago. Like we kind of got started in 2014, 2015, selling on Amazon. You know, there were people who sell on Amazon 2008, 2006, 2012, whatever. And to be able to sell on Amazon was a lot easier back then than it is right now. There's extra stuff that you have to go through. But at the end of the day, this is a business and you have to run the business like a business. So we're going to talk about some of the pitfalls that you should avoid as a seller, but just know that there are some challenges. Look, am I going to say that there aren't sellers leaving the Amazon platform? There are. The sellers are frustrated with the Amazon platform. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of things that have happened. Some of it is designed to help them to be more profitable. Some of it is designed to help us to be more successful. Some of it is just feels like, oh my gosh, can you please stop changing something new every day? That's what it feels like sometimes. So I'm not going to say this is not, I'm not going to say this is a bashing Amazon segment, but you just need to be aware if you want to sell on the Amazon platform, there's some things you need to be aware of and conscientious of. And if you decide that it's not for you, then that's fine as well. You can, if you try it later, just know that there's going to be some things you need to be mindful of if you decide you want to sell on Amazon later. So go ahead, Miss Kelly.
Yeah, like I said, I used to sell. I'm still a Amazon seller, but I've cut way back. It was a lot easier before, but then they started asking for a lot of stuff that wasn't, um, that I felt was like something that the manufacturers should do and not us as sellers. And then, it just seemed like the rules were changing all the time and everything. So, you just have to make a decisions in your business, and go with what you like. I prefer to go to the thrift stores and finding the treasures that way and sell it on eBay and Etsy. I was doing books on Amazon. And if I find a book, I can list it merchant fulfilled. I'm just planning not to do FBA anymore. It's just, it's so much, it kind of takes the stress out of my business doing it this way now. You have to keep it all the stuff here, but you know,
And I understand that there's a lot of sellers, like I said, that have walked away from Amazon, and some of them have changed their entire business model on Amazon, and some of them have moved towards private label. And you may decide, you want to do something different. So, again, this is not intended to scare you from Amazon. It's not an Amazon bashing session. I just want you to be aware that there are some challenges the sellers do have, and I want to help you avoid those if at all possible. So we're gonna go through this list. I'm gonna go through the list. Kelly may chime in from time to time. So let's go.
yeah.
The first one is those that get started selling on Amazon, not treating it like a real business. Like it's a random hobby. I do it on the third Tuesday of every month, maybe if I feel like it, if I'm not out playing golf. Like it's a really random business for them. So if you want it to be a random business, if it's a random business for you, you'll get paid randomly, and you will not get the traction that you need because all the platforms, including Amazon, requires consistency. So if you want to get paid like a real business, you treat it like a real business, which means you have to invest the time and the energy needed to be successful on that platform. You got to treat it like a real business. Anything you want to share, Kelly? Because I can keep going.
Yeah, and you have to make sure that you're also keeping up with all the rules and everything because Amazon is not forgiving.
Yeah, they got more interesting. All right. So the next thing is not knowing your numbers. So there are people that will get started selling on Amazon and they will not be paying attention to all the potential numbers that could be impacting your bottom line. So, there are people who have $1 million sellers, but then when you look at their actual profits of what that out of that $1 million, how much money they really made. It's like it's nothing like making $1 million and having $1 million in sale and only having $10,000 total for the year in profit. Because the bottom line numbers do matter. The profit margins matter, the your sales, your transactions, and just randomly selling and say, "Oh, I got to sell on Amazon," and then not really paying attention to, okay, well, how much did I pay for this item? How much did it cost me to ship it in? How much? Oh, okay, yeah. So you should always know your numbers, or at least attempt to try to know your numbers, and to be able to pay attention to that kind of stuff. Anything else, Kelly?
Yeah, you gotta know your fees. Make sure you're looking at the right fees, that you're thinking that you're only taking this amount of fees, and you're actually looking at the merchant fulfilled fees and not the actual FBA fees. And then you're like, oh, look, I'm gonna make $2 on this, but no, you forgot to subtract how much you paid for the item, and you paid $3 for it, and you're only getting $2 back, so that puts you in the negative. So you have to really understand your numbers.
Yeah, pay attention to your numbers. So important. All right, and there you go. So not being prepared for the fees. So there are fees. Amazon is one of the higher platforms to sell products on. The thing is that Amazon is still king. We all admit it. We know it. It's a fact. They know it. And when we say Amazon is king, when people buy, they are going to Amazon more than likely. If you poll 10 shoppers that do online selling on a regular basis, at least 8 of them are starting with Amazon for their search. They may not ultimately 100% buy from Amazon, but they're starting with Amazon for their search because they know that Amazon has so many available choices to them, not just in the US, but in some of the other countries. So when you as a seller are selling, people want to be on the platform where the traffic is, and Amazon has the traffic. Amazon is king. But the thing that you need to know about Amazon being king is that there's fees for the sellers. There's different fees for merchant fulfilled, which is you're shipping it to the customer, seller fulfilled, either way you want to look at it, and you doing FBA, Amazon fulfillment by Amazon, them handling it. And you just need to factor that in to whatever you decide to do if you're going to sell on the platform. There's also storage fees. There are, if you're going to let them do any level of the prep or the sorting, there are fees for that. If you want all your inventory to go to a specific warehouse, there are fees for that, especially if they're charging you, if they're saying, hey, we want you to split it out, but you only want to go to one location. That's called inventory placement. There are going to be some fees. So again, not being prepared for the fees and then ultimately impacting your bottom line, which points back to your numbers, not knowing your numbers. Anything else, Kelly?
And the fee to be a professional seller on Amazon, $40 a month.
Yep, absolutely. So again, being prepared for all of that. Okay, not responding to IP claims or information requests. Look, Amazon is going to ask you potentially, depending on what you're selling, for a lot of crap, including those people that do private label and white label and any other, they may ask you for something that does not make logical sense. Kelly can tell you that. I can tell you that. It's like, why do you need this information? There's no chemicals in this product. But again, some of the stuff that they ask for. So either not responding to or not reading or just not even checking your email. Like you got to run it like a business. Going back to the first one, you got to run it like a business. If you decide you're not going to run it like a business, then don't do it at all. What else do you want to add to that, Kelly?
Yeah, it's like all the time. We want information on these, we need the safety test on this coloring book. Really? A safety test on a coloring book? How bad does it give you paper cuts or what? So I'm like, some of the stuff is just absolutely crazy, and are like, we need the safety test on this. And so you'd have to go to get these tests. You have to go through a distributor to get the information from the manufacturer for the safety test that they did.
Yeah,
I understand. And so they're making it harder for us to do retail arbitrage to really, sell on here.
Yeah. Then there's some tools out there that can help you, identify if this is going to be a product that's going to have IP claims. Um, Even if you're approved, and if you didn't grab the eCom Q4 Summit or the eCom Seller Summit, where Jeff Schick, the attorney, he's talked about IP claims in both of those two summits. Go back and listen to his session, but you know. IP claims is intellectual property. And even if you're approved, let's say I'm approved to sell Disney, that doesn't mean that a claim can't come back from Disney, because there's a whole process. There's two different processes going on. There's Amazon approving you to be able to sell Disney. That's one thing. And then there might be someone that's going through and checking all the approved sellers that Disney has said, yeah. And they're like, I don't recognize this name. And so then Disney kicks you off because of, the fact that they don't recognize you as a seller. So that's two different things that are happening here. And a lot of that gets very frustrating for some sellers. I'm like, I'm already approved to be able to sell this. What do you mean? And so how to fight those. So go back and grab, if you haven't listened to eCom Seller Summit 2022 or the eCom Q4 Summit 2022, but the one that was the eCom Seller Summit was in February, and the eCom Q4 Summit was in August. And Jeff talks about IP claims and how to help fight those, and then just how to respond to them, and then also knowing what information to send to Amazon when they're asking for different things. Sometimes your receipt is not sufficient, it's not enough, and knowing what it is that they need in order for you to get through this. Now, there are sellers that have been selling for a long time, and they burn through those answers that Amazon is looking for because they're used to it and they know what to do. So those are people that sell regularly and they're consistent. So they figured out the pattern and they are able to respond. The majority of the time, those guys don't run into problems. 95% of the time, maybe even 98% of the time, they don't run into problems because they are regular, consistent sellers. And that's including retail arbitrage. Those that are new, it feels like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do next. And so they become frustrated. And of course, then they quit or they stop selling on the platform. So I just want you to be aware, there are actions that you need to take and things that you need to do on your side to deal with information that Amazon is asking for, and or to deal with or respond to IP claims. So yeah, there's stuff. And we'll get into some of that stuff in a minute. Not on this session, but we'll talk about it. All right. So not having a plan for the Amazon FBA limits. So there are certain times of the year where Amazon's going to change the inventory fees, storage fees. And you're going to be evaluated for your inventory limits. And you have to say, okay, I got a pallet of 1,000 of XYZ coming in, and they tell me I can only send in X number of units. So what am I going to do with this extra inventory? So, some people will store it in their garage. Some people will put it in a storage unit. Some people will send it to another fulfillment center that is non-FBA and just do seller fulfilled. So, you have to have a game plan for running this business. You need to have a strategy. And if you don't, you need to put one together. And getting organized. Like Kelly is actually... there's a couple of videos or a couple of times where she's talked about being organized in her house and having her inventory in a place where she can get to it. She's got her shipping supply. She's got things cataloged and things like that. Right now, my house looks like a complete disarray because we're always going through 9,000 tubs. But my point is, you have to have a game plan for your inventory, Amazon inventory limits if you're doing FBA. And if you're not doing FBA, that's fine. You still need to have a game plan for your inventory. Where you're going to store it, how you're going to store it, how you're going to catalog it, how you're going to find it, all that stuff. It's a business. Run it like a business. Anything you want to add to that, Kelly?
Just keep up with your IPI number. That if don't keep that up a certain level, then they'll just decrease your inventory limits. And if you're over that, you can't send anything in. They won't let you.
Yep. So again, running it like a business. Just want you to be aware of these things, not trying to scare new sellers, just preparing you for the Amazon journey. And you're probably going to be fine as long as you were trained appropriately on how to deal with the different things that happen as a seller. All right. So the next one's not being flexible with the platform changes. Look, I just read an article for the for the news where Amazon is telling you that they're investing in technology, and by default, the investment in technology is going to constitute a change. It is going to be something that the sellers are going to have to deal with, whether you're a private label seller, whether you're a white label seller, whether you're a print on demand seller, whether you are using, I don't care, KDP, if you're doing Amazon merch, if you're doing retail or online arbitrage, like there's going to be changes. And so not being flexible to the platform changes. Some people say it's too much. I get it. It is. Sometimes it's like, woo, this is annoying. But change is going to happen. So you have to be prepared and be flexible and be able to adjust to the changes. Anything else you want to add to that, Kelly?
Yeah, I was being good. I was dealing with good the changes, but then after a while, it just got
It wears on you.
it where yeah. It's like, who are they trying to help here? The customer, or are they trying to help their sellers who actually, they make the money off the sellers. The customer, they don't make the money off the sellers.
Yeah. So it is what it is. It's always interesting. It's never boring. Not a paying. Go ahead, Kelly. I'm sorry.
No,
Okay. Well, not paying attention to your account health. So as Kelly talked about before, your IPI, you got to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to everything. Like you don't want an A to Z claim. You don't want an unresponded to A to Z claim. Like you don't want, and I'm not going to, this is not a teaching session. This is a things you need to be aware of because we have a separate teaching session for Amazon, but things you need to pay attention to. And your seller account health is one of those. There's some things in your account health that you need to pay attention to. So if you are not aware of where you stand, that can impact your ability to sell on the platform, cause you to be suspended. Just depends on what it is. So not trying to scare new sellers, just saying these are things you want to pay attention to when you're writing your checklist of things that you're monitoring and being prepared to deal with as a new seller or an existing seller. Look, existing sellers have been doing it for a while and they're like, okay, yeah, sometimes it gets frustrating, gets old, the changes get annoying, and we get it. I understand. I get it. So I'm frustrated, but we work through it. I work through it. And we try to come out on the other side. And don't think that this stuff doesn't happen to people who have private label accounts too. Not all of these things happen to them, but some of them do. Some of these things are more frequent for those who do the retail arbitrage model. Okay. Being honest, online arbitrage and retail arbitrage, where you're selling a variety of different products at any given time. And it can happen to random things have happened to people who do private label, or they're rolling out a new private label product, or they're making enhancements to it, or they're bundling it. Like some of this stuff can happen to them as well. So don't think that it doesn't universally happen to everybody. It's just some groups that sell a specific method or way may impact this, or may be impacted by it a little bit more than others. But it happens to everybody. Amazon is an equal opportunity annoyer. Okay, not making data-driven decisions when you're sourcing. There's a lot of stuff that, yes, I have purchased and inventory that I've listed and it didn't sell. And then there's inventory that I've listed and it did sell. And doing the analysis, knowing what the demand is, seeing what the interest is, knowing, who the avatar is and who that audience might be that might want this product, putting the product in front of the right audience, having the right keywords, having the right pictures. I could go on and on and on different things that can impact whether or not your thing is going to sell. You need to source right, source it for the right price. You need to source the right product when possible. But if it's a brand new product that's never existed anywhere in the stratosphere in the universe, then that is a completely different model where you don't have enough data. There might be some related products. There might be some similar products. There might be some interest that's sparked because something happened in the news and all of a sudden there's a demand for this solution. And so if it's a big solution, then you can make data-driven decisions based off of the search for the solution. But the point is that you should be making data-driven decisions when sourcing any inventory for any platform, not just Amazon, at all times. You should be doing a minimal amount of research And you should know something about this product that you're potentially going to acquire to sell or that you're about to list. So, learning how to make data driven decisions when sourcing is extremely important. Anything else you want to add to that, Kelly?
No.
Okay. And then not making time to learn the business. Some people, they just like, oh, okay, I'm going to go do this business and I'm going to be. I've met people that do all kinds of stuff. Like they just decided I want to have an Amazon business, but I'm going to go let somebody else run it for me, and I'm going to be 100% hands off. And I'm like, you don't even know anything about how to log into your own account. You don't know how to create a listing or what a listing should look like. You don't know what the picture should look like. You don't even know that your descriptions are bad. Like how I would never start a business that I didn't at least run it myself or be actively involved in it for a minimum of 3 months. So I at least understand the foundation of running the business. And there are people that just, yeah, I'm gonna hand it 100% over to somebody else. I don't even know what the login ID and password is. Somebody said that they will just go ahead and run my business for me. Well, okay, there's so many things that I have questions about. I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate versions of that business out in the universe, but you should know some of the basics about the business so that if that company ever folds for something that they potentially have done and they are now legally liable for, you know how to get into your own account. You know how to place orders. You know what inventory you're selling. You know what your listings look like. You know how much you're selling things for. You know what your profit margins are. Like you should know some stuff about your business. You need to learn the business. You should know what e-commerce method or model you're running. Like, oh, okay, are we doing retail arbitrage? Am I doing private label? Am I selling only private label products? What am I selling? Like, you should know this. Not taking time to learn the business or assuming, hey, I went and took this 1 hour workshop and I know everything I need to know. So I'm going to go do this Amazon thing. And it's okay. I mean, look, we all made mistakes along the journey in our lives. We have learned from our mistakes as we go along, but just going through a 1 hour session with somebody and really like, okay, there's so much more to understand when it comes to selling on Amazon. And 1 hour is not sufficient. I'm just going to tell you. There's so many little intricacies, but I'm not trying to paralyze a new seller. What I'm just trying to say is you can start and keep going and learn as you go versus assuming you got everything soup to nuts in a 1 hour session. That's all I'm saying. And then taking time to learn the platform. As we said at the beginning, like you got to know that Amazon has all these different requirements, and you need to understand the requirements. Kelly said that at the beginning. You need to understand the requirements. You need to understand what restricted brands and restricted categories mean, and what are the things that you got to do in order to deal with those restricted brands and categories. You got to understand that there's, and these are things that are in most cases unique to Amazon and not any other platform. So you want to be mindful of the fact that, hey, I'm also selling on Walmart and I don't have to do these extra things. I don't have to know these extra things. Yep, you're absolutely correct. And not saying that at some point Walmart's not going to require it. They might. Not saying that at some point eBay is not going to require some more stuff. They might. But you do need to understand the platform that you're selling on, what's required, and the things you need to stay on top of as a seller. So I hope this helps you on your journey as a seller.